name's Melissa Whitford, and I'm going to talk about why animal rights activism is absolutely ridiculous. Did you know that there are people who believe it's morally wrong to hurt a tick, mosquito, rat, bee, or any animal at all? These people are called animal rights activists, and they think that human beings can't own pets, wear leather, or even silk because it comes from a silkworm, or eat anything that comes from an animal, even honey. A vegetarian diet is probably healthier than eating meat, I'll grant you that, but it's not morally wrong to eat meat, because even Jesus ate the Passover lamb and fish. Animal rights activists are also against animal testing to improve medical research, horse riding, seeing eye dogs, and aquariums, zoos, and circuses. Their goal is to grant animals the same rights and moral value as humans. But animal rights activists have a mission to do much more than just liberate animals. Their worldview is super dangerous, and the cost to their worldview, to human exceptionalism, would be devastating if we were to accept it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for dogfighting or any type of animal abuse. I believe in animal welfare, which is the humane treatment of animals. But I don't believe that animals should be granted human-type rights and given the same moral value as humans. A common animal rights activism organization is the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or PETA. They're known for a campaign called Holocaust on Your Plate, which unfairly compares barbecued chicken on your plate with the horrors of the Holocaust on your plate. Also, according to an article from Consumer Freedom, Cass Sunstein, who was Obama's regulatory czar, believed that animals should be permitted to file suit with human beings as their representatives. Animals should be able to file suit. What kind of world is this? This is ridiculous. Okay, so animal rights activists don't believe in human exceptionalism, which is the belief that the entire human race naturally has intrinsic value and high moral worth. They don't see any reason to think that humans are better than animals. And they think that all creatures, both human and non-human, should be just as valuable as each other. Actually, animal rights activists call anyone believing in human exceptionalism a speciesist, just like racist or sexist. If animal rights activists don't use the determination of whether someone's human or non-human to give them worth, how do they determine it? They use sentience, or the ability to feel pain, self-awareness, and rationality. If having these things is what animal rights activists believe should automatically grant human-type rights, this sets a standard so low that animals, including insects, since even a fly will try to escape us water and is capable of feeling pain, can now be included in having exceptionalism just like humans. Obviously, most human beings can feel pain, be aware of their surroundings, and be rational about things. But what about the few that can't? Or what about a newborn baby, a man with Alzheimer's disease, or someone with a mental illness? If these are our criteria for human rights, then not only will animals have the right not to be used for human benefit, like clothing, for instance, but human beings will be deprived of their rights. Human beings are exceptional because we're made in the image of God. And if we let the animal rights activists win, what's at stake is the importance of being human. Gary Yourofsky from PETA writes in his article, Animal Rights and Ethical Veganism, quote, "Deep down, I truly hope that oppression, torture, and murder return to each uncaring human tenfold. I hope that fathers accidentally shoot their sons on hunting excursions, while carnivores suffer heart attacks that kill them slowly. Every rodeo cowboy and matador should be gored to death, while circus abusers are trampled by elephants and mauled by tigers. And lastly, may animal researchers catch debilitating diseases and painfully wither away." End quote. Lovely. Just lovely. Animal rights activists don't want us doing medical research on animals, but they have no problem with aborted baby body parts. Experiments on animals have given us cures for things like polio and SARS, and they've also given us pain medicine. But according to Wesley J. Smith's book, A Rat is a Pig is a Dog is a Boy, these animal rights activists have terrorized medical researchers who use animals. They send them exploding razors and HIV needles. They've bombed people, started fires, flooded homes, robbed a grave, beaten people with baseball bats, planted pipe bombs in their cars, and they've sent death threats to intimidate people just because they want to use animals for the good of humans. This is ridiculous. They don't just threaten lives, but they also threaten people's reputation, they threaten their property, they steal their information, years of work, they harm their family members, and anyone who's even remotely connected to their businesses. In Spain, a project called the Great Ape Project strives to grant apes the right to life, liberty, and not to be tortured. But there's even an organization called the People for the Ethical Treatment of Plants and Rivers, whose main goal is to free nature from humankind and giving them human-type rights. In Ecuador, their constitution now says, quote, "Natural communities and ecosystems possess the unalienable right to exist, flourish, and evolve within Ecuador," end quote. Another example is the Delta smelt, which was a tiny little fish that was being sucked up in pumping stations that gave water to orchards, farms, and citizens in Southern California. But because this fish was almost going extinct, the Endangered Species Act signed an order that would shut down the pumping stations and cut off the water supply to all of Southern California so that this little fish could live. But if all these trees and apple orchards weren't getting the water and were dying as a result of this, think of how long it would take to regrow all of that food and all of the income and jobs lost just to save this little fish. People were choosing the life of this tiny fish over the well-being of humans. In Genesis 1, it says, "Then God said, 'Let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, over the livestock, and over all the creatures that move along the ground.' So God created man in his image." This says that we're made in the image of God, while humans are instructed to rule over the earth that God has given us to use. We can't raise animals up to the value of humans because animals are amoral, and they can't be trusted with duties or held accountable for their actions like humans can. Our old way of looking at humans is not staying the same. There are groups who now say that animals, plants, rivers, and ecosystems are just as important as us humans. If everything is exceptional, then nothing really is exceptional anymore. This means that humans aren't any longer important, and they aren't the masterpiece of creation like they should be.